Hi, this is Nahid. Welcome to our Leader's Inner Journey series. Today, we're going to ask who you want to be as a leader. And in order to do that, we're going to take you on a journey, a reflection exercise that will help you go inside yourself and get some insights onto the type of leader that you admire and the type of impact you want to have as a leader. So get out some paper. You need a 3-column sheet. And what I'd like you to do is think about some leaders that you admire. If you don't have 3 mentors or bosses that you've actually reported to that you admire, you can look for other people. Maybe you didn't directly report to people, but you kind of wished that you reported to them. Or maybe you had a lot of admiration for people and you knew of people, but you never actually got to work with those people. It really doesn't matter. In fact, if you'd like to add to your list fictional characters, you can do that, or historical leaders, people you didn't even know. The point is that you have a short list here, 3 people at maybe 5 at most of people that you admire as a leader. So pause the video and go ahead and see who you can think of. And I'll tell you about the next 2 columns after you come up with the names. All right, I'm going to assume that you paused the video and that you came up with some names for leaders you admire. So for each of these leaders, you're going to ask yourself 2 questions. First of all, what did I admire about this leader? And second of all, what impact did that leader have on me? What made me want to follow the leader? So again, pause the video and go through the exercise and leave this picture up so you can kind of follow along. And if you're not quite sure what I'm going for, I do have an example for you. So I'll walk you through an example really quick here. You could use maybe a coach that you've had in a sport, one of your favorite bosses if you have a favorite boss. You could choose a favorite fictional character. You could choose a favorite president. You could choose a favorite historical figure. After going through an exercise like this, the next thing you want to do is look for themes. And there's 2 main things that you're looking for. One are the traits and characteristics that those leaders had in common. So we take the names column completely off, and we just have you take a look at what did you write for traits and characteristics, and is there anything that your leaders had in common? Mine knew what it took to succeed. They were very good at explaining. They were clear and honest. They were emotionally neutral. And what I meant about that is I had had other leaders that I didn't work with very well who would make a lot of promises and give me a lot of good feedback that actually didn't feel real to me. It actually felt like they were flattering me or, trying to make me feel good about myself, but I didn't really sense the truth in their words. So I didn't really trust them. And I also had work to understand their people. So what made me want to follow these leaders? What was it that I felt? The themes that I came up with is trust came up a lot. Also, I didn't feel pushed to believe their way of doing things. I was explained to. So they would explain their thinking to me, and then I would be able to come to my own conclusions. They inspired me to work hard and grow. So I felt really inspired by these leaders that I trusted, and I felt like I could trust to make good decisions because I felt like they knew what they were doing. So, one thing that's really interesting is I did this exercise about 5 years ago and I had different things. So this is really something that comes out of you. And I would definitely take some time to reflect on what you came up with in this exercise. But to interpret your responses, what you typically answered for what traits and characteristics did my leaders have in common? These are the traits and characteristics that you aspire to. These are the things that reflect your core values. So it's a good thing to kind of look at this and say, what values do these traits reflect? What made me want to follow the leader, the impact that the leader had on you is typically the impact that you have the potential to have on those you lead. So this simple exercise, I call it the leadership projection exercise, where you get to think about the leaders that you admire, and then you project the traits onto them that you admire, and you project also kind of the impact that they have. So some of it is out of your own imagination, but you usually end up getting a really good picture of the kind of leader that you want to be. And I do think that this changes over time just from my own experience with it. So I used to do a lot of classes, and I would give this exercise, and every once in a while I would do it myself. And because my answers were different, that's something to reflect on too. How have I grown as a leader? And am I aspiring now to new things that maybe I didn't aspire to when I was a younger leader? Now, I wanted to bring this in, the 5 traits of effective leaders, just to give you some parameters and a framework. So typically, these are the 5 things that people will say that they look for in effective leaders. And it gives you a good guideline when you think about what kind of leader you want to be. Now, you may find slight differences on different lists, but in general, these are the 5 characteristics that I see over and over again. They may be worded differently, they may be ordered differently, but strategic thinking, clear communication, organized work habits and systems. They should be a great coach, mentor, and team builder, and they should be very self-aware and emotionally intelligent. And there's also another one, walk the walk. So really being grounded in their own core values, which I think also goes with number 5 here, self-awareness. So I hope that gives you some initial insight into what kind of leader you want to be. The next follow-up exercise that you'll want to do for this is to take a few minutes to reflect on your responses to the exercises, and then develop an ideal profile of the leader you'd like to be. So maybe you make yourself an avatar or a persona. We do that for our ideal customer. What about our ideal selves when we think about the kind of leader we want to be? The reason we're doing all this as part of your leadership journey is really being clear in your head of what kind of leader you want to be. Because if you're going to grow into that kind of leader, it helps to know where you're going. Some additional questions that you can reflect on as you're thinking about this is, what matters most to you? What do you want to stand for? What is the impact you want to have? What are your strengths? What are your opportunities to develop? There's a lot that we can do when we talk about the leaders in our journey, but the first step is to know where you're going on your journey, right? So we think about defining where we're going and then where we are now so that we can navigate that gap. And part of what you're doing now is giving you one piece of that puzzle so that you can create the map of your journey. So have fun with this exercise. I hope you get some great insights, and we'll see you again soon.